Right, my name's Ian Penman, and I'm telling you my life story up to date. I had a poor start, but I ended up doing a lot of things that a lot of normal people wouldn't do. From my working years, I started working 1963 to 1967, 4 years, at Mother's Bakery as an apprentice baker. When I left, while I was working at Mother's Bakers, I was a part-time projectionist at Lyceum Cinema at Headingley. 1984 to 2009, 26 years as a special constable. Now, a special constable is a person that has the same powers and the same status as a regular police officer, but the only difference is you don't get paid. It's like the TA, the volunteering, like that. From 1967 to 1987, I worked at a firm called Canada Dry. In them days, we repaired all his own vehicles. We got made redundant after 20 years because Brickvic took over, which is another soft drink firm. And what happened then was Brickvic sent all their vehicles out. They haven't got their own garage, so we were made redundant. In 1987 to 2001, I then got a job at Archbold's at Morley. Well, Archbold's at Morley had a contract with Tetley's amongst TJ Smith and another 2 more companies. So therefore, we were delivering beer to all the Tetley houses. So that was a hard job in them days, lifting 36-gallon barrels of beer, dropping them down the cellar and picking up empty ones up from the cellar, which you had special equipment. You had a rope to put around the barrel and pull it up. So you had to be strong. Then from 2009 to the present day, I'm more or less retired in doing my photography and enjoying my photography, which is okay. Right, when I was born in Scarborough, I never knew my father. My mother died when she was 38 years old. Now I've got a sister which is called Christine, and she's 2 years younger. So at that time when my mother passed away, my uncle Bob, who's my mother's brother, lived here in Swinner, Bramley, and he fetched us over from Scotland to his house. We stopped there a few years because my auntie, she didn't like kids, so they ended up putting us in a children's home, me and my sister, at Street Lane Home, which is a big home. So from there, we ended up going to a smaller home in Iverson Approach. Now, Iverson Approach was a good home, which is okay. There's only about 8 to 10 of us in the home, whereas Street Lane, there are about 20 odd. So what happened then was, I was in the home, children's home, while I was 16. And when they're 16, they tried to get you adopted. Well, my sister was already adopted about 12 months before me. So I got adopted with a big family called the Lamberts. Now the Lamberts live in Armley, at 32 Almond Grove Place. The house is now knocked down and altered like they do everything else. So I was adopted to them at 16, which is good because Mrs. Lambert, she'd already adopted kids before. Anyway, they're a big family. They're a family of 7. So I've got fosters. I've got 4 foster brothers and 3 foster sisters. A lot of them have passed away, but I was brought up with them. And I kept my name. I didn't change my name to Lambert, I kept it to Penman. So that's more or less, that was it. I enjoyed my time in Armley, and as I say, while I was in Armley, I ended up still being a special constable. I also worked part-time at this cinema, so I didn't do so bad. And at the moment, now, I've been retired. I do a lot of walking. I walk about 2 or 3 miles a day to get exercise. And I live in my own, in 1976, I got married to my wife, Denise. And I met her through my boss. My boss's daughter, who used to work at the cinema in Lyceum. And then we got married in 76, and in 1980 we got a daughter called Louise, and she works for the police as it happens. She's a help desk supervisor, and she looks after all the people that's coming into the day, coming in the public, and she's in charge of the police stations around Leeds. There's not many now because Ireland was closed down. So that's what's happening there. So at the moment now, I've retired. I go a lot of walking, like 2 to 3 miles a day. I moved when my wife died. I ended up moving into a flat, and I'm in a flat now at Workley. So I'm still in the area, and as I say, I do my walking, which is good, and I also do photos, and I like to take photos. I am a member of the Pupsy Camera Club, which there's people that are professionals and all that, and take photographs. Well, when I go out for a walk, I take my little camera with me, and I take photographs. And the photographs, they might look unusual, but they're different places and different sites and different views and different ways they're going, which is good. And I'll take them home and I'll put them on the computer. And I've also got 2 tablets with all my photos saved on in case I want to fall back on them, and a lot of them on the computer at the moment. But I say, I've been out this morning for a walk, local walk around Armley. You don't realise little gimbals there is, and I take some photographs of them. So at the moment I'm retired, I'm enjoying my retirement and all that lot. As I say, I don't feel, sometimes you feel fed up on your own, but at the end of the day I either watch snooker or do my photos. Right, when I started at work, I worked at Mather's Bakeries, which is Dewsbury Road. I don't think it's there now. That way we made bread, hot cross buns, etc. And many times we used to do a lot of cock-ups, as you say. What we did, one day I was told to make the hot cross buns. Of course I made 2 or 3 trays of hot cross buns, and I forgot to put bloody baking powder on so they didn't rise. So like bloody pancakes with crosses on, which didn't go down so bloody well with a gaffer. Give me a right rollicking, but one of them things, you can bloody do. But I enjoyed that, and the trouble with that is, it was a 4 years apprenticeship, but I only ended up doing 2 years. The simple reason, I ended up being allergic to flour. So that buggered me up, but at least I did all right with it anyway. I sorted them out, but apart from that, that was all right. And then I got a job working for Arch Bowls. Now Arch Bowls is a contractors in Morley who had a contract with Joshua Tetley's in them days. When I worked there, there was 4 contractors, us, JT Smiths, another 2 companies I can't remember. That was all right delivering beer. That way, bloody marvellous what you did then. What you had to do, you get 36 gallons of beer, which is heavy, if you think of it, a big barrel of beer, 36 gallons. We used to put them on the gantry. Now the landlord said, go steady, because I've already got some beer on my gantry, and if you knock the beer off, that was it. It was knackered. So we were in a rush because we were late, so I put this beer on the gantry and knocked his bloody beer off, because what they do is they've got the beer, and underneath the front, the back of it, it's tilted back with like a wedge, and the front, that 2 chocks on, so the beer comes out. Of course, there's usually 4 tubs on the thing. Of course, that was it, beer. And then there was one item as well. Some cellars, you have to rope them down. The landlord doesn't want, because there's been a lot of damage done when the 36 gallons of beer, you can think, a big 36 gallons of beer, and all it stops at the bottom is a mat, like a cork, a bag, a sack full of corks. That's all it is. It's like a cold bag, but full of corks. And what you have to do, you have to set it down at the bottom, but you have to set it a certain distance. If you set it too far away from what we drop, it bounces over. Well, I'm teaching this bloke, this lad, I told him, do that, put it back. Anyway, he didn't put the thing right. So it bounced off the bottom, went, and knocked poor bloody landlord's all his beer off because it bumped and thick. So that didn't go very well with the landlord. Of course, we got bollocking, we got back from bloody Tetley's, because it's Tetley's, and then we got one from bollocking from Gafford at Arch Bowls. But many a time, I've done that before. I've got to the myself the barrels and the cork's happening right, and I've pulled them off wagon like that, and it's soaked in bloody beer, which is no good because that's the first thing in the morning. People think you're bloody pissed all day because you stink of bloody beer. Which is one thing. That's one thing I do. I do not smoke. I've never smoked, and I've never drunk. So that were ideal for that bloody job. But apart from that, that were all right. Anyway, when I were a special constable, bloody hell, a special constable, I ended up joining, like I said, in them days, and I were okay for a bit, and then I was promoted to inspector, which meant you're in charge of the specials. Now you try and tell specials what they do. Like, what we had them days, we were supplied with a baton, with some handcuffs. Now, being a special, we had to supply our own handcuffs. The police, West Yorkshire Police didn't supply the handcuffs, they only supplied the batons, which is all right. So one day we goes there to this house, but they took one of the lads, teaching him, says, right, we knocked on door, nobody answered. So I says, right, hang on a minute, we'll knock again. Well, before I knocked again, the bloody lad had his baton out, but he broke bloody window. So that gave me a right. Ooh. So I explained to him, sorry mate, I said, West Yorkshire Police I do. I said, it's just training. But then later on, about 5 years later, West Yorkshire Police decided to supply the specials with handcuffs. The idea being that bit, the regulars and everybody, if we arrested a prisoner, we handcuffed him. And then they had to wait. They done the cell area. And in the meantime, 9 out of 10, you're called out again. So what happened then was, you're called out. That bloke, the prisoner you've got, is cuffed, he's handcuffed. And the trouble is, the police officers in the cells can't get his cuffs off because you've only got the key to the cuffs. The simple reason is, you bought them. They're not West Yorkshire Police cuffs. Well, the keys fit them all. So that happened a few bloody times with that. So there's many scenes you go to domestics and all that lot and sorted it out. Anyway, later on in life, West Yorkshire Police supplied us with his own cuffs. So that for arrested them, it didn't matter, they could get the cuffs off. And later on when you went backstage, they gave you your cuffs back. That was okay. And then later on, about 5 years ago, they've altered the cuffs and they made them solid ones, solid cuffs, which is good. And you went to training and it showed you how to use the cuffs. Like you put somebody one hand in the cuff, showed you how to drag them down, which you could do with them. With the other ones, you couldn't do nothing. So that way, that was okay. And that was the days also they supplied you CS gas. Now CS gas, you were supposed to do that in emergency, but half time you didn't. It just sprayed it, and that was just. But we had to make sure you didn't make their eyes. But then again, 9 times out of 10, hard to get your eyes if you got through your nose. Well, that was okay. We did that, no problem. So that was another episode, bloody spray, and that had to be put in a locker, and you were supplied with lockers with your number on, and there's only you to use that locker. But the sergeant had it in case nobody put the spray away when the end of the shift. So that was ideal with that. So I enjoyed that. And then being the part-time projectionist, that was a job and a half. That was when the old films had reels, they're like 35mm films. And the worst one I had was West Side Story in 10 Commandments. That lasted about 3 hours. But the trouble is, each reel you had only had 15 minutes on the reel. So 15 to 20 minutes on the reel. So you had to put your in your top of the projector, feed it through, and then go behind other side and reel the reel back to the beginning. By the time you've done that, you have to make sure you looked at the screen. At them days, top right hand corner, there's a little mark, which meant you switched your motor on, and second mark, you switched the projector over to the other projector. That's if you run the bloody thing down right. 9 times out of 10, I were okay. this lad that we were with, he was learning and all. He'd only done rewind the film back halfway. Of course, I'd do that and turn it around. You see halfway through film 10 Commandments, it might be on number 6 commandment, we ended up bloody number 12. It's just bloody made a right backside of it. So that were all right for being projectionist. And they say, with that, you ended up with your fingers being solid. The simple reason is, when you wound it back, you had to hold the camera, the film, in your fingers to make sure there was no cuts. If you had to do that, because if you didn't, if there are any cuts, that's how sometimes you got breakdowns. They haven't been checked properly when you watch the old folk films. So what you had to do then was take it out, put it in a little bit cut machine, cut it, and then glue it together, the cuts, and then that was it. So now, as I say, now I've retired. I enjoy myself. I go around the Health Camera Club, the Putty Camera Club, and then I'll go for walks. And I've been for a walk this morning. What I do, just go around, walk, taking photos. I'm going to go back today. I'll put them on my computer, and then I'll edit them, and I'll save them, which I do. So there we are.